I'm ready. Ready? Are you ready? I'm attempting to make sounds through this microphone, and yet I hear nothing. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone into the sanctuary for Purim 5783, the celebration of Haman. Oh yeah, it's not the celebration of Haman, it's the celebration of God delivering the Jewish people. We'll start with our 12 and under costume contest. So, if you are 12 or under, come up here and make a line right in the front so that our judges can decide who wins the costume contest. Okay, adults, I'm going to ask you to follow instructions now. Let's have the kids come up. Let's have the 12 and under costume contest. All kids 12 and under right here in the front. Where's Wilma Flintstone? There's Wilma Flintstone. Do we have judges in place? Okay, here we are.
Check.
Check one. Okay, judges, here before you, you have our 12 and under costume contest from 5783. And you are?
Master Halo.
Waldo.
I'm Waldo.
I'm Waldo.
Joe.
I'm Belle.
I'm Bo.
Little blue truck.
Mary.
Lizzie, we're both from Pride and Prejudice.
City Police.
City Police.
Skyline.
Spider-Man.
Mandalorian.
Princess.
Peter Pan. Pizza roll.
Okay. What you have here is the best of the best for 5783. Judges, take your pick.
They'll announce it at the end.
Okay, Wilma. Where's Wilma Flintstone? Will you come and explain Find Esther's Rose for us?
So everybody knows. Like I don't have a big enough mouth. Okay, so everybody knows in the story of Esther, she has this special rose, right? Yeah. Just shake your head. Okay, great, something. All right, so Esther has lost her rose somewhere in our green space. It's either around the ark in the playground or around the fire pit or the pavilion. You don't have to dig through any bushes. You don't have to dig through any pine straw. Whoever finds it gets a prize.
And so, wait. If you run, you have failed me for the last time. Listen, we're going to walk. Who's already gone outside out there? We're going to walk. Huh? Oh, okay. Well, that might be hard to do now. Kids, see that row right there? Have a seat, then we're going to go find Esther's rose. Have a seat right there. Don't go anywhere because we have to find Esther's rose. Adult costumes. That means 13 and up. Line up right there. Oh, Lord. Okay, adults, here we go. I want to let you know, as Rabbi Darth, I cannot sign off on this costume. It's completely trafe. You are?
I'm Mr. Ray Zorback.
Mrs. Ray Zorback.
The Flintstone.
The Flintstones. Yabba-dabba-doo! Waldo.
Am I Waldo?
Where's Waldo?
Where is Waldo?
Carmen San Diego.
Rain, cats, and dogs.
A veterinarian.
Devorah.
We went on safari. We got the lion.
Out of Africa. Got a lion.
Mordecai. Hey, Mom, I'm still not going to bow down to you. Hey, Mom, I'm still going to bow down to you.
Wait, I was supposed to be wearing a costume?
Bucky!
Yeah, one more.
Judges, there are your choices for the adult costume. Oh, wait. We have a late edition. A late edition. Oh, my God.
Viking.
How in the world did you get a kid that young to keep that beard on? That's amazing. Well trained. Well. Okay, so this is the adult lineup. Judges, get a good look. All right, you guys can be seated. Okay, kiddos. Now we're ready. Listen, kids. Yeladim, kids. We're going to be very kind to one another. We're going to look around for all the places where Wilma Flintstone said that the rose might be. We're going to be kind to each other and go look. We're going to walk outside now and go find Esther's rose, okay? Oh, wow. Seriously? Fantastic news for everyone else. You can eat. Right in the hall, go find something to eat. It's very delicious, as are all Jewish holidays food. This will be high carb, sugar, and you should have as much as you can. Go for it. Okay.
This.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Haley. Technically, Ezra's not mentioned, but Ezra and Nehemiah were considered to be one book, and Nehemiah is mentioned. Oh wait, not mentioned where?
It's not mentioned in the book. What other book?
Oh, is God not mentioned? Is God not mentioned? Okay. Okay, good. That's true.
And then they've got their numbers posted.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Haman's pockets, Haman's house, Haman's nose. Haman cast lots, Nissan, during the holidays. Daryavesh, also known as? Who else was Daryavesh also known as? Darius, right? Darius.
Okay.
Is that Agag or Agag? The king? It's the Haman's ancestor, right? Actually, I think it's right. According to the rabbis, Agag and Haman each had a daughter with the same tree. False, but they each had a son with the same. Alright.
Like, don't ask me to argue with Rabbi Google.
Well, David will figure it. David will come in.
Yes.
What? Did someone find the rose? Who was it?
Alright, so there's your winners.
Benjamin. Benjamin.
There's your presents.
Okay, I'm gonna hear this announcement. Let's let Dave announce it. Dave. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right.
And then I tried to remember the sayings for each
You got
one.
it. You
I
got
can't
it.
remember Esther if it was long with the queen or awe.
It's either one.
Good enough.
Excellent. Nice work. Fantastic. Thank you. And thank God. This weekend, thank God.
Yeah, it was unexpected struggle right before that year. I found out my best friend. A couple years ago. Trying to keep focused and she had struggled with depression or everything else.
Almost always.
Like most everything else this week, but
Well, death is a shock when it's coming.
this one's pretty good. I just gotta find it.
Well, yeah, that's the difficulty. I need to get this Bible for us to read, Esther.
Yes.
You asked permission to talk to my lawsuit?
Very chill. Probably from the, probably from the family fun weekend that's got us all exhausted and begging for our beds. Lance, how are your chickens? Good job. If you need any help with chickens, talk to Rostaman right there. He can help you. He knows a thing or two about chickens. Dr. David Higginbotham, that is. Right? Couple things. Okay, everybody in the hall, come on in. Haman. Okay, I was going to see if that would get him started, but it didn't.
Darth Vader.
You know, those were, that Star Wars Purim play that Dave wrote was fantastic. Everyone remembers it?
I started the first one.
Yeah. Michael Higginbotham was Haman at one point. You were also the king. Zach Eisner was the king. We had a good run. We never did get to that Lord of the Rings Purim play, though. We should do it, David. In all your spare time, you should write it out. I don't know how you're going to write smog in, but you need to. Okay, here we go for the 12 and under costume. Oh, okay. Okay, well, for the adults, Blake, have this queued up? Okay. I'm going to cue it up then. Let's see. What is everyone's favorite reggae tune? Who's your favorite reggae artist? Bob Marley is what I heard. I don't know if anyone actually said it, but for the adult costume winner is none other than Could You Be Loved? Could you be loved? You know what that is? That's Bob Marley. It's Dr. David Higginbotham as the Rasta. Hey, man. I don't think anyone actually caught the joke, so stand up, Haman. Haman, come here, Haman. Yeah, come here, Haman. This is how this joke worked. You ready? Take the mic and say your joke.
Hey, Mom, I'm still not going to bow down to you.
Okay, that was it. And David, here's your prize, sir. Just kidding. There you go. Look inside. There's a Hamantaschen. I know. It's a problem. It's a problem for you. Okay, kids, they're all outside, but it doesn't matter. Their parents are present. Pride and Prejudice, Ailey Slater won the kid's costume. And here is her prize. You collect it for her mother. Purim. She really? It's fair. All right, here we go. Every can be in here should be in there for the next part, which is the Purim trivia. You see these numbers in the four corners of the room? Remember we did it Shavuot game where we all went to the different places? Okay. Here's what we're doing. I'm going to try to do this because Miranda taught me how to do this today. This is four corner Purim trivia. You're going to stand where you are, and based on the question I ask you, you will go to that corner that you think is the correct answer. For instance, here, just use this one, Blake. Here we go. First question is this. What other book besides Esther is God not mentioned? 1, Ezra. Now you know what you're doing? When you hear your answer, you're going to that corner. Okay? Number 1, Ezra. Number 2, Song of Solomon. Number 3, Nehemiah. Number 4, Judges. And David, you shouldn't immediately go because everyone follows you. You need to throw a little curveball in the mix, man. Come on. Oh. Dr. Eisner wants to sit down early.
That's how smart I am.
Yeah, and if you choose the wrong corner, by the way, you're out. Oh, Paul's already sitting down. Here we go. Question 2, true or false? Number 1 is true. It is thought that Mordecai and Esther both are buried in current-day Iran. 1 is true, 2 is false. To repeat the question, true or false, it is thought that Mordecai and Esther both are buried in current-day Iran. Make sure you're thinking through your answer. 1 is true, 2 is false. 1, true is the answer. Number 3, the word Purim means 1, chance, 2, hope, 3, lots, 4, hidden. Oh, if you're out, you don't get to ask for clarification. I'm sorry, sir. It's not within the rule structure. Okay, well, guess what? Number 3, lots. Who can tell me the origin of the word pur? Who said that? You're out of the synagogue. You're not welcome back. Purim is a Persian word. It's not a Hebrew word. Okay? That's a bonus, though. Number 4, Hamantashen are known to be described as all of these except Haman's pockets, Haman's hats, Haman's ears, Haman's nose. Number 1, Haman's pockets. Number 2, Haman's hat. Number 3, Haman's ears. Number 4, Haman's nose. Hamantashen are known to be described as all of these except number 1, Haman's pockets, number 2, Haman's hat, number 3, Haman's ears, number 4, Haman's nose. And the answer is number 4, Haman's nose. I'm sorry, Haman, have a seat. In what month did Haman cast lots? Number 1, Elul. Number 2, Nisan. Number 3, December. Number 4, Adar. Number 1, Elul. Number 2, Nisan. Number 3, December. Number 4, Adar.
In what month did Haman cast lots? Elul, Nisan, December, Adar. And the answer is 2, Nisan. Okay, we might be able to predict who's going to win. Here we go. Number 5, 6. During what holiday was Haman hanged? Number 1, Purim. Number 2, Independence Day. Number 3, Passover. Number 4, Yom Kippur. Number 1, Purim. Number 2, Independence Day. Number 3, Passover. Number 4, Yom Kippur.
What was the question? We're looking it up online.
During what holiday was Haman hanged? Purim, Independence Day, Passover, Yom Kippur. And the answer is... Number 3, Passover. Gabriel wins.
Good try, Lydia.
Okay, so just for fun, we're going to finish trivia though. True or false? Esther had a son.
False.
True or false? Esther had a son. True. His name was? Chester. Chester. It's true. Fester. Daryavish. Darius. When there is a leap year, which month is Purim held? Adar 1 or Adar 2? Adar 2. True or false? Esther married Ahasuerus after his first wife was banished for disobeying his commands. True or false? False. She was executed, not banished. David, you should like these trick questions. What Jewish king was Mordecai a descendant of? Shaul. How many sons did Haman have? 10 sons. How many days did Ahasuerus' first party last? 180 days. What spice does Mordecai's name mean? It was one of the king's gifts. The three travelers to see Yeshua. It was one of their gifts. Myrrh. Myrrh. Traditionally, how many times is the Megillah read on Purim? Twice. Okay, Gabriel, Mazel Tov. There's something to be said for being lucky. Gabriel, you have won yourself. Where's Wilma Flintstone? A gift certificate to Circle K. Okay. Now, let's do what we all came here for. Steve, open the bar. Just kidding. This is the time for the mitzvah of Purim, which is to read the Megillah. So we're going to read the book of Esther. I am going to have our costume winner come up. Our adult costume winner will say the blessing before, and then we'll begin with our readers through the Megillah. This is the thing you're here to hear, although we don't have a scroll to read it from. Probably at 8:30 you can drive downtown and hear Rabbi Rubenstein read it from the scroll in Hebrew if you understand what it means. If not, we'll just do it in English for you here. Okay? Now, when you come up, if you're called as a reader, I want you to come up that way, come behind the screen, find your costume, don it, and then come over to read. Okay? There's a bag of costumes right here. They're great. All right, David.
I was hoping we had it in transliteration. Yeah, I'm just going to have to do it in English.
I hadn't started talking yet.
Right. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us regarding the reading of the Megillah.
Amen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al midra Megillah. Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who has wrought miracles for our forefathers in those days at this season. And everyone says, Amen.
Amen.
This one I should know better. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher
She'asa nisim.
She'asha nisim
lavotenu
bayamim hayim bazman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us through this season.
We'll sing this one together.
Right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman haseh.
Amen.
All right, thank you. Rachel Wagner, you're our first reader for the book of Esther, chapter 1. Cole's in the army. What he says, just disregard it. He runs with a lot of rough people.
You just pick one? Yep.
They're so easy.
Mm-hmm, yes. Oh, my word. They don't get better.
No, they do. The deeper you dig, the better they get. It's in English. It's definitely in English.
How far do I read?
You're going to read chapter 1. How many beers have you had?
Not enough.
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready for you.
Oh, okay, good.
Chapter 1. No, it's for the adults.
Thank you. Okay.
Chapter 1 of Esther. Coming at you.
Here we go. These events took place. I don't know how to say the king's name. That probably is a problem.
Just say Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus. Okay.
Ahasuerus. You want me to help you with pronunciation, or
You
just? It doesn't matter. It's Purim. You can mess it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of names here, but if you okay.
Just give it your best.
Here we go. You what? Okay, here we go. These events took place in the time of Ahasuerus, the Ahasuerus who ruled over 127 provinces from India.
Wait, hold on. I have failed miserably in my preparation of the congregation. Here's what happens. Who remembers what we say when Rachel reads Ahasuerus? Queen Vashti? Mordecai? Hip, hip, hooray. And Esther long live the queen, or your choice, let's make a decision. Oh, which one? Okay, we're going with that. Here's the recap. King Ahasuerus. Queen Vashti. Queen Esther. And Mordecai. Okay, now you're ready. Start over.
Start over. I was so close. Okay. These events took place in the time of Ahasuerus. The Ahasuerus, who ruled over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. It was in those days when King Ahasuerus sat on his royal throne in the Shushan, the capital, in the 3rd year of his reign, that he gave a banquet for all his officials and courtiers. The army of Persia and Medina, the nobles and the provincial officers were in attendance. He displayed the dazzling wealth of his kingdom and in the great splendor for a long time, 180 days. At the end of that time, the king gave a 7-day banquet in the courtyard of a royal palace garden for all the people, both great and small, there in Shushan, the capital. There were white cotton curtains and blue hangings fastened to silver rods with the cords of fine linen purple. The columns were marble. The couches for reclining at the table were of gold and silver on a mosaic flooring with marble and the mother of pearl and onyx. Drinks were served in gold goblets, with each goblet different from the others. There were royal wine in abundance as benefits royal bounty. The drinking was not in according to any fixed rule, but for the king had ordered stewards to serve each man what he wanted. Also Vashti, the queen, gave a banquet for the women in the royal house belonging to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the king was in high spirits from the wine, he ordered a bunch of people, and the 7 officers who attended him to bring Queen Vashti before the king with the royal crown in order to show the people and officials her beauty, for she was indeed a good-looking woman. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the order of the king for which he had sent her through his officials. This enraged the king. His anger blazed inside him. As was the king's custom, he consulted sages well-versed in matters of the law and justice. With him were a bunch more people, and the 7 vice-regents of Persia and Medina, who were part of the king's inner circle and were the most important officials in the kingdom. The king asked the sages, "According to the law, what should we do with Queen Vashti? Since she didn't obey the order of King Ahasuerus conveyed by the officers." Metabukam presented the king and vice-regents with his answer. Vashti, the queen, has wronged not only the king, but also all the officials and the people in all the province of King Ahasuerus. Because the act of the queen will become known to all the women who will start showing disrespect towards their own husbands. And they will say, King Ahasuerus ordered Vashti the queen. Ordered the queen, I don't remember. Okay, ordered the Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she wouldn't come. Moreover, the noble ladies of Persia and Medina who hear the queen's conduct will mention it to the king's officials, which will bring about no end of disrespect and discord. If it pleases his majesty, let him issue a royal decree, and let it be written as one of the laws of the Persian and Medes, which are irrevocable, that Vashti is never again to be admitted in the presence of King Ahasuerus, and that the king should give her royal position to someone better than she. When the edict made by the king is proclaimed throughout the length and the breadth of the kingdom, then all wives will honor their husbands, whether great or small. This advice pleased the king and officials, so the king did what Metabukam, had suggested. And he sent his letters to all the royal provinces, to each province in its own script, and to each people in their own language, that every man should master in his own house and speak the language of his royal people. Thank you.
Well, you skipped over a bunch of names.
I know.
All right, but for fun, let's see. Here we are. We're going to have Rachel do one run on the names.
Oh, good night.
You ready? Here we go.
Are you going to say them before me?
No way.
My husband knows I'm very good at this. So, metahuman.
Mehuman.
Oh, jeez. Bizta.
Bizta.
Okay. Harvona. Bigta. Agata.
Avagta.
Zatar. Karkas.
There we go. You did it.
I did.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, no.
Ellen Reagan's going to read chapter 2 for us. Come on around that way, please. Come around this way, find your costume, and don it.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a good one. Excellent. Excellent. Chapter 2. There to there. You got it.
Ready? Where am I? Chapter 2. And do I take a little pause or? Okay. A while later, when King Ashkavarash's anger had subsided, he remembered Vashti, what she had done and what had been decreed against her. The king's servants attending him said, "A search should be made for young, good-looking virgins. The king should appoint officials in all the provinces of the kingdom." To gather all the young, good-looking virgins to the house for the harem in Shushan, the capital. They should be put under the care of Haggai, the king's officer in charge of the women, and he should give them the cosmetics they require. Then the girl who seems best to the king should become queen instead of Vashti. This proposal pleased the king, so he acted accordingly. There was in Shushan, thank you, the capital, a man who was a Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Yair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benyamini. He had been exiled from Yerushalayim. That one, thank you. With the captives exiled with Yekaniah, king of Yehuda, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, had carried off. Thank you. He had raised Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, because she had neither father nor mother. The girl was shapely and good-looking. After her father's and mother's death, Mordecai had adopted her as his own daughter. When the king's order and decree were proclaimed and many girls assembled in Shushan, the capital, under the care of Haggai, Esther, too, was taken into the king's house and put under the care of Haggai, who was in charge of the women. The girl pleased him and won his favor, so that he lost no time in giving her cosmetics, her portions of special food, and 7 girls from the king's palace to attend her. He also promoted her and the girls attending her to the best place in the harem's quarters. Esther did not disclose her people or family ties because Mordecai had instructed her not to tell anyone. Every day, Mordecai would walk around in front of the courtyard of the harem's house in order to know how Esther was doing and what was happening to her. Each girl had her turn to appear before King After she had undergone the full 12-month preparation period prescribed for the women, consisting of a 6-month treatment with oil of myrrh and 6 months with perfumes and other cosmetics for women. Then, when the girl went to see the king, whatever she wanted would be given to her as she went from the harem's house to the king's palace. She would go in the evening, and on the following day, she would return to another part of the harem's house and be under the care of Ashgaz, the king's officer in charge of the concubines. She would not go to the king unless he was especially pleased with her and had her summoned by name. When the turn came for Esther, the daughter of, whom Mordecai had adopted, y'all missed Mordecai, had adopted as his own daughter to appear before the king, she didn't ask for anything other than what Haggai, the king's officer in charge of the harem, advised. Yet Esther was admired by all who saw her. She was brought to King Ahasuerus. Somebody tell me. Ahasuerus. Okay. In his royal palace in the 10th month, Tibet, during the 7th year of his reign. The king liked Esther more than any of his wives. None of the other virgins obtained such favor and approval from him. So he put the royal crown on her head and made her queen in place of Vashti. The king then gave a great banquet in Esther's honor for all his officers and servants, decreed a holiday for the provinces, and distributed gifts worthy of royal bounty. When the girls would gather on other occasions, Mordecai would sit at the king's gate. Esther had not yet revealed her family ties or her people, as Mordecai had ordered her. For Esther continued obeying what Mordecai told her to do, as she had when he was raising her. On one of those occasions, when Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, two of the king's officers, Bigtan and Teresh, from the group in charge of the private entryways, became angry and conspired to assassinate King Ahasuerus. But Mordecai learned about it and told Esther, the queen. Esther reported it to the king, crediting Mordecai. The master was investigated, found to be true, and both were hanged on a stake. All this was recorded in the daily journal that was kept with the king.
Excellent. Ahasuerus. You got it.
Ahasuerus.
You got it.
I have never said that out loud.
Let's see here. There are so many people I want to pick because it's Purim. Scotty Patterson, you want to read? Come on, come on! Yeah! Come around that way, find your costume, and don it before you arrive. No, you got to keep your shirt on. Oh, wow, that's incredible. Chapter 3, the Megillah.
Pipe it down, please. All right, here we go. Help me out with these words, please, you know. Ahasuerus.
Yep.
There we go. Sometime later, King Ahasuerus. See? Now you've screwed me up. Began to single out Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagi, for advancement. Eventually, he gave him precedence over all his fellow officers. All the king's servants at the king's gate would kneel and bow down before Haman. I'm just reading. I lost my place. Because the king had so ordered. But Mordecai would neither kneel down nor bow down before him. The king's servant at the king's gate asked Mordecai, "Why don't you obey the king's order?" But they had confronted him a number of times without his paying attention to them. They told Haman, yes, there we go. My finger's missing, so it's I'm trying to.
Hey, wait. This is the perfect usage of the yod. You see this? Hashem provides.
Yes, now I'm completely lost. All right, where are we? But after they had confronted him a number of times without paying attention to them, they told Haman, in order to find out whether Mordecai's explanation that he was a Jew would suffice to justify his behavior. Haman was furious when he saw that Mordecai was not kneeling and bowing down to him. However, on learning what people Mordecai belonged to, it seemed to him a waste to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Rather, he decided to destroy all of Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole of kingdom. In the first month, the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of Ahasuerus, I'll get it one more. They began throwing, I thought I said pur,
yeah.
before Haman every day and every month until the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. Then Haman said to Ahasuerus, "There is a particular people scattered and dispersed among the peoples in all of the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of every other people. Moreover, they don't deserve the king's laws. It doesn't befit the king to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, have a decree written for their destruction. And I will hand over 330 tons of silver to the officials in charge of the king's affair to deposit in the royal treasury."
That's a lot of silver.
The king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagi, the enemy of the Jews. The king said to Haman, "The money is given to you and the people too, to do with as seems good to you." The king's secretaries were summoned on the 13th day of the first month. They wrote down all Haman's orders to the king's army commanders and governors in all the provinces and to all officials of every people. In each province in its own script, and to each people in their own language. Everything was written in the name of King Ahasuerus. You're just going to say it for me. And sealed with the king's signet ring. Letters were sent by a courier to all the royal provinces to destroy, kill, and exterminate all Jews, from young to old, including small children and women, on a specific day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to seize their goods as plunder. A copy of the document to be issued as a decree in every province was to be publicly proclaimed to all the people, so that they would be ready for that day. At the king's orders, the runners went out quickly, and the decree was issued in Shushan, the capital. Then the king and Haman sat down for a drink together, but the city of Shushan was thrown into confusion.
Excellent. You did
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Purim is a chance to bring people out. Chris, how about chapter 4? Yeah, it doesn't do any good to have a screen for Chris, so. Nemo has been found. Chapter 4.
All right. Good part of being old. Got to find the right distance.
Glasses?
Yeah, it's the right distance. I do, and the right distance I don't. When Mordecai learned that everything had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out through the city, lamenting and crying bitterly. He stopped before entering the king's gate, since no one was allowed to go inside the king's gate wearing sackcloth. In every province reached by the king's order and decree, there was a great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and as many lay down on sackcloth and ashes. When the girls and officials attending Esther came and informed her of this, the queen became deeply distressed. She sent clothes for Mordecai to wear instead of his sackcloth, but he wouldn't accept them. So Esther summoned Hatak, one of the king's officials attending her, and instructed her to go to Mordecai and find out what this was all about. Hatak went out to Mordecai in the open space in front of the king's gate, and Mordecai told him everything that had happened to him, exactly how much silver Haman had promised to put in the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the decree for the destruction issued in Shushan, so that he could show it to Esther, explain it to her, and then instructed her to approach the king, intercede with him, and implore his favor on behalf of her people. Hatak returned and told Esther what Mordecai had said. Then Esther spoke to Hatak and gave him this message for Mordecai. All the king's officials, as well as the people in the royal provinces, know that if anyone, man or woman, approaches the king in the inner courtyard without being summoned, that there is one law, that he must be put to death, unless the king holds out the gold scepter from him to remain alive. And I haven't been summoned for the king for the past 30 days. Upon being told what Esther had said, Mordecai asked them to give Esther this answer. Don't suppose that merely because you happen to be in the royal palace, you will escape any more than the other Jews. For if you fail to speak up now, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from a different direction, but you and your father's family will perish. Who knows whether you didn't come into your royal position precisely for such a time as this? Esther then returned this answer to Mordecai. Go assemble all the Jews to be found in Shushan, and have them fast for me, neither eating nor drinking for 3 days, night and day, and I and the girls attending me will fast the same way. Then I will go to the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. Then Mordecai went his way and did everything Esther had ordered him to do. And I'm not going on.
I'm looking for the chapter with the most difficult names for Dave to come up and read. But until then, I'm going to have Jane Eisner come up and read. We're in chapter 5, only 20 to go. You find your
glasses, of course. So what am I supposed to read?
I do want to say this is the most appropriate hat for someone who paid for their son to go to LSU. It's a crawfish, y'all.
I knew I should have sneaked out. Oh, sorry.
Snuck out.
On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner courtyard of the king's palace, opposite the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne in the king's hall across from the entrance to the hall.
Nice.
Is that all? No.
A lot more.
When the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the courtyard, she won his favor. So the king extended the gold scepter in his hand toward Esther. Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. "What is it you want, Queen Esther?" the king asked. "Whatever your request, up to half the kingdom, it will be given to you." "If it's all right with the king," answered Esther, "let the king and Haman come today to the banquet I have prepared for him." The king said, "Bring Haman quickly," where am I? "So that what Esther has asked for can be done." So the king and Haman came to the banquet Esther had prepared. At the banquet of wine, the king again said to Esther, "Whatever your request, you will be granted it. Whatever you want, up to half the kingdom, it will be done." Then Esther answered, "My request, what I want, is this. If I have won the king's favor, if it pleases the king to grant my request and do what I want, let the king and Haman come to the banquet which I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said." That day Haman went out happy and in good spirits. But when Haman saw Mordecai at the king's gate, that he neither rose nor moved for him, Haman was tried to sneak one in. Haman was infuriated. That was a trick. You didn't fall for it, did you? You got it. With Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home, where he summoned and brought his friends and Zeresh, his wife. Haman boasted to them about his vast wealth, his many sons, and everything connected with how the king had promised him and given him precedence over the other officials and servants of the king. Indeed, Haman Esther the queen let nobody into the banquet with the king that she had prepared except myself, and tomorrow too I am invited by her together with the king. Yet none of this does me any good at all, as long as I keep saving Mordecai the Jew, remaining seated to the king's gate. At this, Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends said to him, "Have a gallows 70 feet high constructed, and in the morning speak to the king about having Mordecai hanged on it. Then go in and enjoy yourself with the king at the banquet." Haman liked the idea, so he had a gallows made.
Stevie B. Come on up. You don't get to reject the call to read the Megillah. Chapter 6.
Here we go.
There we go.
Chapter 6. Where are we? I got it.
Hey, do you need any help on the pronunciation of the Hebrew?
No, I think I can handle it.
Okay. Do you need these?
No.
Okay.
I'm not as old as you. I'm not blind yet. Yeah, we'll get one good jab in. That night the king couldn't sleep, so he ordered the records of the daily journal brought, and they were read to the king. It was found written that Mordecai told about Bigtana and Teresh, two of the king's officers from the group in charge of the private entryways, who had conspired to assassinate King Ahasuerus. The king's servants answered, "Nothing was done for him." The king then asked, "Who's that in the courtyard?" For Haman had come into the outer courtyard of the king's palace to speak to the king about hanging Mordecai on the gallows he had prepared for him. The king's servants told him, "It's Haman standing there in the courtyard." The king said, "Have him come in." So Haman came in. The king said to him, "What should be done for the man that the king wants to honor?" Haman thought to himself, "Whom would the king want to honor more than me?" So Haman answered the king, "For a man the king wants to honor, the royal robes brought, which the king himself wears, and the horse the king himself rides, with a royal crown on his head. The robes and the horse should be handed over to one of the king's most respected officials, and they should put the robes on the man the king wants to honor, and lead him on horseback through the streets of the city, proclaiming ahead of him, 'This is what is done for a man whom the king wants to honor.'" The king said to Haman, "Hurry and take the robes and the horse, as you said, and do this for Mordecai, the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Don't leave out anything you mentioned." So Haman took the robes and the horse, dressed Mordecai, and led him through the streets of the city, as he proclaimed ahead of him, "This is what is done for a man whom the king wants to honor." Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman rushed home with his head covered in mourning. After Haman had told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends everything that had happened to him, his advisors and his wife Zeresh said to him, "If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is a Jew, you will not get the better of him. On the contrary, your downfall before him is certain." While they were still talking with him, the king's officials came, hurrying to bring Haman to the banquet. Esther had prepared. Who's next? Yes.
And again, I'll say, it's a great opportunity to call out those who love to be in front of everyone. Debbie Adkins, Miss Debbie, that's your Shabbat school teacher. Come on, Miss Debbie.
Are we in chapter 7?
So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet,
Right in here in the center. There we go.
and the king again said to Esther at the I can't see that.
You need these?
No, I mean when you pull my head up, I can't see. At the wine banquet, whatever your request, Queen Esther, you will be granted it. Whatever you want, up to half. Didn't he read that? No. Up to half the kingdom, it will be done. Esther, the queen, answered, if I have won your favor, king, and if it pleases the king, then what I ask be given me is my own life and the lives of my people. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, killed, exterminated. If we had only been sold as men and women slaves, I would have remained quiet. Since then, our trouble would not have been worth the damage it would have caused the king to alter the situation. King Ahasuerus asked Esther the queen, who is he? Where is the man who dared to do such a thing? Esther said, a ruthless enemy. It's this wicked Haman. Haman stood aghast. Terrified before the king and queen. In a rage, the king got up from the wine banquet and went out to the palace garden. But Haman remained, pleading with Esther the queen to spare his life, for he could see that the king had decided to do him in. Haman had just fallen on the couch where Esther was when the king returned from the palace garden to the wine banquet. He shouted, is he even going to rape the queen here in the palace before my very eyes? The moment these words left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Harbona, one of the king's attendants, said, look, the gallows 75 feet high that Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke only good for the king, is standing at Haman's house. The king said, hang him on it. So they hanged Haman on the gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's anger subsided.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. Okay, where'd Cole Wagner go? He was all in. There he is. Take care of that big baby now. Rachel, I was talking to you about Cole, but how many chapters are in the book of Esther?
10.
What chapter are we on?
8. All right.
Esther.
Hey, girl. All right. That same day, King Ahasuerus gave the house of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, to Esther, the queen. Also, Mordecai appeared before the king, for Esther had revealed his relationship to her. The king removed his signet ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. Then Esther put Mordecai in charge of Haman's house. Again, Esther spoke to the king. She fell at his feet and begged him with tears to put an end to the mischief of Haman, the Agagi had caused by the scheme he had worked out against the Jews. The king extended the gold scepter toward Esther. So Esther got up and stood in front of the king. She said, if it pleases the king, if I have won his favor, if the matter seems right to the king, and if I have his approval, then let an order be written rescinding the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hamdata the Agagi, which he wrote to destroy the Jews in all the royal provinces. For how can I bear to see the disaster that will overcome my people? How can I endure seeing the extermination of my kinsmen? King Ahasuerus said to Esther and Mordecai, the Jew, listen, I gave Esther the house of Haman, and they hanged him on the gallows because he threatened the lives of the Jews. You should issue a decree in the king's name for whatever you want concerning the Jews, and seal it with the king's signet ring, because a decree written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring can't be rescinded by anyone. Yeah. The king's secretaries were summoned at that time on the 23rd day of the third month, the month of Sivan, and a decree was written according to the thing Mordecai ordered concerning the Jews. To the army commanders, governors, and officials of the provinces from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces, to each province and its script and each people in their language, also to the Jews in their script and language, they wrote in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed it with the king's signet ring, and they sent the letters by couriers on horseback, riding fast horses, used in the king's service, and bred from the royal stock. The letters said that the king had granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and defend their lives by destroying, killing, and exterminating any forces of any people or provinces that would attack them, their little ones or their women, or would try to seize their goods as plunder. On the designated day in any of the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, a copy of the edict was issued as a decree in every province and proclaimed to all the peoples, and the Jews were ready on that day to take vengeance against their enemies. Couriers riding fast horses used in the king's service left quickly, pressed by the king's orders, and the decree was issued in Shushan, the capital. Meanwhile, Mordecai let the king's presence arrayed in royal blue and white, wearing a large gold crown and robe of fine linen and purple, and the city of Shushan shouted for joy. For the Jews, all was light, gladness, joy, and honor. In every province and city where the king's order and decree was arrived, the Jews had gladness and joy, a feast and a holiday. Many from the peoples of the land became Jews because the fear of the Jews had overcome them. I gotta get my kid.
Chapter 9, David Z. Ross. I do want to take this opportunity to make sure that everyone in the room knows the band Van Halen, right? Does everyone know Van Halen? And their Jewish lead singer who was named? David Lee Roth. So his name is actually Ross David Z. So we've changed his name, thanks to Sabrina, to David Z. Ross. He's going to read chapter 9. Come on.
I'm making sure the tag's in the back because
We'll be right with you. He needed to make sure the tag was in the back.
Of course, you don't put a hand back.
Here we go. And he wanted to have a head covering over his crawfish. Chapter 9, it's a long chapter.
Oh my goodness. And
the longest in the book.
And that's in small print.
Step into it. You need these over these?
I don't know, man.
Okay, go for it. Chapter 9.
Just want to see where I end, because that's where my goal is, to get to the end.
That's it. That is always the goal when you read, to get to the end. Chapter 9.
I'm going to have to hold it.
Z can do it.
Huh? I can do it, I just can't see it.
Z can see it.
The time approached
for the king's order and decree to be carried out the day when the enemies of the Jews hoped to overpower them. But it turned out the opposite took place. The Jews overpowered those who hated them. Thus, on the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar, the Jews assembled in their in their cities. See, the lines blur together. Oh, yeah, I need a pointer.
Yeah, there you go.
That helps.
Ready?
Throughout all their...
Of King Ahasuerus. Here we go. To attack anyone who tried...
Where'd you go?
To do them harm. To do them harm.
Okay. And no one...
Here, you take this.
No one was able to
go.
withstand them. I'll do this.
Go. Okay, good.
There you go.
Good. I'm going to let you have your stick.
Okay. Huh? Put the mic down?
Not all the way.
Oh. How about there?
Hey, do it. Go.
Testing 1, 2, 4, 7. Everybody on YouTube can hear me? Okay. Man. Blessed. Okay. I'm going to start here. All the officials of the province in the army commanded the governor, and those occupied with the king's affairs helped the Jews because they were afraid of Mordecai. For Mordecai had become a powerful person in the king's palace, and his fame spread throughout all the province. Mordecai continued to grow increasingly powerful. The Jews put all their enemies to the sword. There was a great slaughter and destruction as they did whatever they wanted to those who hated them. In S-U-S, what's that word? Huh? Okay, I believe you. The capital, and the Jews slaughtered 500 men. They put to death the 10 sons of Haman.
Thank you for still being here to support us.
The son of Hamdata,
There we
the
go.
enemy of the Jews.
Oh, that's hard for me to see. I need some readers.
I know.
Parshandata, Dalphon, Aspata, Porata, Adalia, Aridata, Pamasha, Arisar, Ardai,
And you
Vaizan.
wanted me to read
Okay,
this.
there we
You
go.
said
There
this
we go.
was
I
for
did it.
Dave.
I did it with emphasis, Purim emphasis, but they did not
touch the spoil. The same day after the king had been told the number of those killed in that place,
Shushan, the capital.
he said to Esther, the queen, if the Jews had slaughtered 500 men in that Shushan, the capital, and the 10 sons of Haman, what have they done in the rest of the royal province? Now, whatever the request, you will be granted, and whatever more
you want,
it will be done. Esther replied, if it pleases the king, let the Jews in Shushan act again tomorrow in accordance with today's decree. Also have Haman's 10 sons hanged at the gallows. The king ordered these things to be done. The decree was issued in Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. So the Jews in Shushan assembled also on the 14th day of the month of Adar, and killed 300 men in Shushan, and they did not touch the spoil. The other Jews No, yeah, the other Jews. Those in the royal province had assembled, defended their lives, and won rest of the enemies, killed 75,000 of those who hated them. But without touching the spoil on the 13th day of the month of Adar, so on the 14th day of Adar, they rested and made it a holy celebration and rejoicing. However, the Jews of Shushan assembled on both the 13th day and the 14th day of Adar, so it was the 15th that they rested and made it a holiday for celebrating and rejoicing. This is why the Jews in the village, those who live in unwalled towns, make the 14th day of the month of Adar a day of celebrating and rejoicing, a holiday and a time for sending each other portions of food. Mordecai recorded these events and sent letters to all the Jews and all the provinces of King
Ahasuerus,
both near and far, instructing them to observe the 14th day of the month of Adar and the 15th day every year, to commemorate the days in which the Jews obtained rest from their enemies, and the month which for them was turned for sorrow into gladness, and from mourning into a holiday. They were to make them days of celebrating and rejoicing, sending portions of food to each other and giving gifts to the poor. So the Jews took it upon themselves to continue what they had already begun to do, and as Mordecai had written to them, because Haman, the son of
Hamdata, the Agagi,
the enemy of the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them and had them thrown
poor.
That is, cast lots. That was your question. To crush and destroy them. But then Esther came before the king. He ordered, by letting that Haman's wicked scheme, which
he had plotted against the Jews.
He had plotted against the Jews, should recoil on his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged at the gallows. This is why these days have been called Purim, after the word pur. Thus, because of everything written in the letter, and that they had seen concerning this matter, and what had become upon them, the Jews resolved and took upon themselves their descendants and all who might join them, that without fail, they would observe these 2 days in accordance with what is written in the letter, and that the appointed time every year, and that these days would be remembered and observed throughout every generation, every family, every province, every city, and that these days of Purim would never cease among the Jews, or in memory be lost by their descendants. Then Esther, the queen, the daughter of
Abihail and Mordecai the Jew.
Mordecai the Jew gave full written authority to confirm a second letter after Purim. He sent copies of it to all the Jews and to the 127 providences of the kingdom of
Achashverosh,
ensuring their peace and security, and requiring the observance of these days of Purim, all their designated times, as Mordecai, the Jew, and Esther, the queen, had enjoined them, and that they had established for themselves and their descendants concerning the matters of fasting and lamenting. At Esther's orders, the matters of Purim were confirmed and put in writing in the book.
Excellent. Michael Higginbotham, I'd like you to don your hat and your monocle and come up and do your best concluding chapter 10 voice, whatever it is of these late days. You don't even need one of these funky hats. You can just use that one, but still take the long path. Maybe something English because you're so royal. You don't have to use one of those. You can use your...
Oh, I have my own.
You can have your own set. How many chapters are in Esther? 10. What chapter are we on? 10. And this is Michael.
Honestly, not with a monocle.
Here, don't put that in front of the book, though.
Okay. King Ahasuerus levied attacks on the mainland and the islands of the sea. All his mighty and powerful acts and the accounts of his greatness of Mordecai, whom the king had promoted, are recorded in the book of Chronicles of the king of Media and Persia. For Mordecai, the Jew, was victory, viceroy to the king Ahasuerus. He was a great man among the Jews, and found favor with the multitude of his brethren. He sought the good of his people and spoke for the welfare of all his seed.
Hello, mate. Was that it?
I think so.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Michael. It's nice to have you back. Okay, my friends, guess what? Miranda.
You got Purim goodie bags out here. Please take 1 or 2 or 3 or 5.
They are called what? What are they called in Hebrew? Mishloach manot. Right? We have our gifts. We have our goodie bags. It's part of what we read in the Megillah, if everyone was able to hear through all the fantastic shouting from the front row. It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. But you have your goodie bags, and we have completed at least one of the readings of Purim. Tomorrow, you'll do it together in your homes or at work or wherever. But remember, how many times do we read the Megillah on Purim? Twice. So tonight we did it together. Tomorrow you'll do it wherever. Okay?
If you don't have a book, you can download the Sphere app, and it's on the Sphere app for free.
It's also in every Bible ever printed in the history of the world. The book of Esther. But if you want to chant it like Steve does, you'll have to download it with the tropes. Chag Purim Sameach, my friends. Thank you for being a part of the community from wherever you are. Thank you to Miranda. To Sabrina, to everyone else who was a part of setting up this family fun weekend. We have had a fantastic family fun weekend, except for those of us who can't move from playing flag football yesterday. It's a blessing to have a community, and if you are part of our worldwide online community and streaming with us right now, Hag Purim Sameach. We look forward to welcoming you to Macon one day. B'Shem Yeshua, blessings and amen. Oh, wait. Miranda, who was supposed to get this? Oh, okay. All right. Roger?
Bob Marley.